an event organized by the Fast Forward Association with the support of the Ergo network organizations. This event follows events in Spain and Sweden, where we've heard about projects, about reports in this field. That's why we have invited partners from Germany, Sweden, and other countries in order to hear more about their experience. We are also going to launch the study that we will be talking about in the next session, the study by Julius Rostaș and Ciprian Nodiș. And we want to bring light, to shed light on the very difficult past of the Roma community, and also about the fight against anti-Gypsyism. We would like to thank the institutional representatives who are going to join our meeting on Zoom. Now I'm going to give the floor to Mr. Sergio Carrera. Can you hear us?
I'm sorry, Sergio is not yet here. Maybe you can start with the subsequent speaker.
Ok. Vom începe cu Cerasela.
Yes. Sorry, Lina. We are going to begin with Cerasela. Ms. Cerasela Banica. Right. So we're going to start with Ms. Cerasela Banica, State Secretary, National Council for Combating Discrimination. Thank you for the invitation. And for this opportunity, I would like to salute the initiative of the institutions and organizations that have launched this project, which is so important, a transitional justice process in Romania. I was having a discussion with Mr. Julius Rostaș before this meeting, and we were saying that this report is so long awaited for, and it comes a little bit late because of the perspective of victims of Holocaust, because so many years have passed, and all of these victims who have gone through tragedies we cannot even comprehend. And these people, during their lifetime, they had very little access to an act of justice from the part of those who should have had to give them some sort of justice. So I hope that this report will do more than just spark a discussion, and I hope that the competent institutions will begin this process that has been long awaited for. I also like the name of this project, because it's about the truth and about violence against Roma people, which, as we know, has led to Roma slavery for 500 years and the Holocaust of the Roma people in the Second World War. And it's so important to highlight these things in order to give voice to the suffering of the Roma people, and at the same time to understand the impact of violence on our community, and also the impact on the current situation. Even though in the last 20 years we've talked about slavery, especially in the academia and in the civil society, and also about the Holocaust, it is only then, in these past 20 years, that younger generations have heard about this. I was very young when I found out that on my father's family, many members were victims of Holocaust. And before having an intervention from the German state, we had no idea in our family about our history. So 20 years later, these historic events of Romania, not only of the Roma community, haven't found their rightful place in the history books. In Romania, the history of minorities and the history of Roma people is still an optional course in school. Why do these things matter? Well, because if the current generation and the next generations don't know about these truths that the Roma community has gone through along the years, unfortunately, as the Commissioner for Human Rights says, if we have no reconciliation, history will repeat itself. And the events in the 1990s have shown that these events can happen again. We had those events in Valentin Valen, Mihail Cogălnicianu, and others. And we saw where these anti-Gypsyism sentiments can lead, or these sentiments that the majority population has against the Roma population. I read with a lot of interest the summary of the report, where it is explained why this process of seeking the truth is important, why the reconciliation is important, and why we need justice, transitional justice. I was talking with Julius earlier. Unfortunately, this process is going to omit certain steps of the transitional justice process, namely bringing to justice the people who were perpetrators in these historic facts. In Romania, we had no remediation from this point of view, from this justice point of view. And we had no national committees for the analysis of the Holocaust against the Roma people. Julius, please tell me if I'm wrong. But such committees are necessary in order to ensure that we have an effective and complete justice process. What can we do? And now I'm talking from the perspective of the institution I am representing. The Council for Combating Discrimination is one of the important mechanisms in the field. Indeed, we are an administrative body. We cannot sanction with any other types of punishment other than fines. But I still think that these fines are an important remedy process. However, only these interventions of our institution will not be enough, because I think that all the institutions, with the support of civil society and with the support of experts, must have such an approach. Because otherwise, all of this suffering will not find its answer in some remedy. Anti-Gypsyism in Romania. That's an important problem in Romania. It has not decreased. On the contrary, the last report carried out on behalf of our institution showed that 72%, unfortunately, 72% of the majority population have feelings of lack of trust when it comes to the Roma community. And this comes after 10 years. So the level has increased with 2%. We are ranking second on the top most discriminating societies when it comes to Roma people. So Romania is ranking 2. And if we are comparing to the LGBTQ community, even though we should not make a comparison between who is more discriminated against than others, but this, in our case, it's a historic discrimination. So the process must take place in all domains, fields where our community is undergoing discrimination. And I would like to give you a few dates and figures. When it comes to our case law, the data go back 5 years only. 235 cases were brought to our attention on discrimination due to ethnical criteria. More than 70% were the result. More than 70% were a result of initiatives by private people who wanted to let us know that there was some discrimination going on. We also have the possibility of starting ourselves the legal procedures, because we can also self-alert on those possible acts of discrimination. And now I would like to give further information in order to understand the situation. 62% of the cases were related to human dignity. When it comes to access to housing, 11% of the cases were brought to us by legal persons. 4% when it comes to access to public places and to public transportation. When it comes to employment, we've had cases as well. Why are all of these things important? Because the way in which these facts are identified depends on the people who see them. Only 30% of the cases brought to us by natural persons have all the necessary data. And when it comes to education, 30% of the cases brought to us by natural persons have a good rate of success. Only 2% when the case was brought by the organizations. And when it comes to employment, 13% success rate when the cases were brought by natural persons. So the rate of success depends always when it comes to different fields and who brings the case to our institution. But there are also other exceptions that hinder our activity. Because if the cases are related to the criminal law, we cannot work there. We can only give fines. Why is this important? Because we need to think about access to justice. From my point of view, civil society should be a lot more active in its relationship with our institution, in bringing forward more cases. Because when individuals bring forward cases, we notice that the people who are most discriminated against are Roma people from the rural area. The cases, they really rarely bring forward cases of discrimination. Rural people, Roma people from the rural area. But
totuși, în raport se menționa la un moment dat de acea discriminare sistematică și instituțională, vorbim de segregare.
In the report, the segregation was mentioned in housing and education segregation. And let me give you an example. In housing, you've seen a lower percentage as compared to education. But only 20 claims are related to education segregation, out of which 15 have been won and 4 are still on the dockets of the court. Therefore, we can say that the National Council for Combating Discrimination on its own cannot solve the racial discrimination or anti-Gypsyism, but all the actors, whether we're talking about the civil society or the public institutions who should and can submit claims to our institution, must work together. Why? Because, in my opinion, when we sanction discrimination, we have the means to show that both behaviors and attitudes can be changed and fought against. Otherwise, only raising awareness campaigns are not sufficient. They are useful, but combating is, in my opinion, the most useful means of prevention. When the society sees that a mechanism is operational, is working, those who have discriminatory attitudes against the Roma community will think twice before acting, because there are consequences. However, that doesn't mean the discrimination will stop, because this is a historical type of discrimination that will not stop at once. And I will stop my intervention here. I hope this endeavor will not stop here with the presentation of the report. I hope it will go on. Otherwise, we cannot speak about transitional justice when it comes to the Roma community. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Cerasela Banica. I will now pass the floor to Mr. Sergio Carrera, the Justice Unit, Internal Affairs within the European Center. Can you hear us, Mr. Carrera? Is Mr. Carrera online? Is Mr. Sergio Carrera online?
Yes. Hi. Yeah, he's online. He's going to connect now.
Okay.
Hello. Very good morning, everybody. Well, first of all, my apologies because I didn't realize that you are actually 1 hour behind. So we were ready already in the morning. So my big apologies. And I just wanted to express how grateful we are for this event to happen as coordinators of the Chachipen project. And that this project actually is quite, let's say, meaningful for us in the role that CEPS has played in the area of anti-Gypsyism, and also pursuing this transitional justice approach to respond to historically embedded and rooted Antigypsyism in Europe. So together with our colleagues, I'm sure that my colleague Lina Bosiolute has already introduced the project. So Chachipen stands for truth in Romani language. And the role of Chachipen is really pursuing and paving the way for truth and reconciliation to address anti-Gypsyism. So really bringing together a consortium of researchers, NGOs, to pursue this conversation and also to, let's say, explore what role the European Union could have more actively in this area. So not only through funding, but also through policies and laws that are commonly applied across the European Union. So
Să vedem care we must see.
As many of you know, and we count with the participation, and we are very grateful for that, to have with us the Central Council of German, Sinti and Roma, Ergo, and the two national partners. Big thanks to Associata Fast Forward Romania for putting this event together. And we also have FAGIC in Spain. So for us, this occasion is quite unique because it's the moment for our national researchers, Julius Rostas and Ciprian Nodis, to present the findings of our research. As I said before, this is very much research-based, but also brings together advocacy and civil society participation to raise awareness, to have this conversation informed through the best research, and pursue change. Ultimately, this project really aims at, let's say, be a very significant new step towards changing not only the narrative, the understanding of the phenomenon of anti-Gypsyism, but also the contribution of the EU. The EU can do a lot of things in this area, and this project hopefully will indeed pave the way for the EU to be more active in better understanding this phenomenon. So very briefly, I'm very grateful to be given this opportunity, and again, very sorry to join you late. We are also big thanks to all the speakers in the opening panel for their availability and their participation, and to all of you, of course, to take part in this event. Thank you.